I'm Tammy Taylor. I'm an Alexander, come from the Sheldon family, and I am a cedar weaver.
My name is Lance Taylor. My Indian name's Chutin. It means a man who works with cedar. I'm a member of the Tulalip tribes.
"26 years ago, the Culture Resources, there was a trailer right here where we sit, had a basket class available for tribal members, and my daughter Tara Taylor, she was really bored at home, and I worked a lot of hours, and I just wanted her to come and join this class. So we I called up Inez and Inez Bill and to see if I could get Tara signed up, and at the time, it's kind of a joke now, but at the time I was told that they really didn't take young children, and I kind of giggled and said, well, she's not gonna play with her Barbie doll because she was really mature for her age. And so needless to say, we went to the first class, and we have not stopped weaving since.
And my story is a little bit different. They started going to the class and everything, and then they started getting into it pretty good. Then they decided that they wanted to try to harvest the bark, and so they'd have bark to work with, and so they incorporated me into going out and learning how to harvest the bark, and that drawed me into the class. And once I started working with the cedar, there was no turning back. It was just like, it was something that was meant for me to work with. And my great-grandmother is Lizzie Christ, and she was a basket weaver, a knitter, but she worked more with the cedar root than the cedar bark. And so I think it was just something that was sitting there dormant, but once we started working with it, it came out, and it's flourished for 26 years now.
The pieces that you make, they're really gifts from your heart, and the beautiful part of it is when you're making something for somebody is we really pray, and those prayers go into what they're wearing. And like, Lance will make a hat for somebody, and he prays over that hat as he's making it. And of course I go deliver it for him, and I don't let nobody touch it because I want nobody to take that person's prayers that Lance had put onto that. And people always say that when they wear their hats and the different things that we make, it makes them feel really good, and we kind of know where that comes from.
With me, I guess it's the canoe design that I do. I had one of the teachers, Stephanie McManus Blatchford. Her grandmother was Agnes Janes, and so one day we was in class, and she brought this basket in, and it was so dilapidated and falling apart and so faded, you could hardly make out the design in it. And she handed it to me, and she said, take this home and study it and figure it out. And so I did. It took me a while, and I deciphered the pattern and everything, and I made her one, and I brought it to her, and she goes, okay. She goes, that's it. She says, that's what my grandma Agnes used to make. She said, now I want you to share that pattern with our people. And so I've done that pattern now for well over 20 years, and I adjust the pattern, I stretch it, and the original pattern was a two-man canoe, and I figured out how to stretch the canoe out to, up to a 12-man canoe on some of my work that I do.
I think the thing that it continues to inspire me is my grandchildren and our community, and we have two grandchildren that we're raising, Jared and Jalen, and they're beautiful little weavers. And Jared's a master bark puller, and Jalen, she's very petite, but her little hands can weave beautiful design baskets, and she just has a lot of fun and giggles through it all. Makes us all laugh all the time.
Just working with the bark and being able to create something that our ancestors did and work with it and then it gave us something to do as a family. One of the biggest techniques is you got to go out and get the bark. And so but then, you know, anybody can go out there and pull the bark off on a tree, but when it comes time to see who's who, you got to see who can separate that inner bark from the outer bark, because there's such a finesse to that. You have to pull it just the right way, otherwise it's going to go thick to thin, and you're wasting it. You know, if you get the right tension on it, it'll be all even, you'll get nice long strips, you'll be able to split that bark down. So you got to go from there and then take your bark home and then let it cure for, you know, long enough, otherwise the bark puts out a toxin and it also shrinks. So once you get that home, then you're ready to go and do a basket. You got to soak it in hot water for an hour or so, and then it'll soften the bark back up. And then you need to cut the bark into strips. You know, you can go from anywhere from super fine to, you know, 1 inch wide strips, depending on, you know, what kind of basket you're making. You know, and then once you get all your material cut, then you have to split the bark down to the thickness that you want. Then once you get it all split and everything, then you can think about your basket. And then you got to think about what type of basket. Are you going to put a pattern in it? Then you can start twining the basket or putting a piece of cedar together, you know, and weaving it in and out. Then you've got the basic weave is a checkerboard weave, and then the one that I specialize in is the twill weave, which is, it kind of looks like a diagonal weave when you get the basket done. And then when you get done doing that, then you got to do the ending. You know, and I do 4 different endings fluently, but there's so many different endings out there that, I mean, there's like these braided endings, and you know, there's just tons of those endings, and you can't master them all. I mean, I'd like to, but you know, they're really, really technical the way that they do, and I have no idea how they did some of those ones. But yeah, but we do 3 or 4 fluently so we can change the look of our baskets. My great-grandmother, she was a weaver, and I think that it was always there in the back of my head, you know, that I was destined to do something like that, because I didn't even start doing the weaving until I was in my 30s. You know, I didn't start as a young kid. It was, you know, but like I said, once I picked up the cedar and started working with it, I haven't quit. It's just like been a passion, and you just get a different feeling. You know, even when we go out and harvest the bark, we're up in the mountains. My grandson says, "God, Grandpa, it feels so good up here." You know, you can feel our elders with us up here watching us, seeing that we're carrying on the traditions, you know, and you know, that's kind of the way it is, you know,
it's just part of us. It's somebody wants something special because, you know, they have a plan for that. If it's, you know, wearing a piece of the regalia or just having a decoration piece, there's a lot of different types of cedar art that is out there, or cedar art that we make, and it feels good. And knowing that that is our culture, that's who we are, that's what our blood runs through. Just like the tree is a living tree that gives us that beautiful bark, you know, so we can warm people's hearts with it.